First Contact and Ultimatum. The anomaly first appeared on long-range scanners at the Europa Deep Space Monitoring Station. Dr. Eliza Chen had been routinely checking data feeds when a pattern of distortions caught her attention. The readings were unlike anything in their databases, a massive energy signature moving through the outer solar system at impossible speeds. "Director Harrington needs to see this immediately," she told her colleague, fingers flying across the holographic interface as she compiled the data. Within hours, the information had reached every major space agency on Earth. 3 days later, humanity got its first visual confirmation. The vessels emerged from the darkness beyond Mars' orbit. 17 craft of varying sizes, their hulls gleaming with an iridescent material that seemed to bend light around them. The largest was a behemoth nearly 2 kilometers in length, flanked by smaller ships that moved with perfect coordination. General Marcus Rivera stood in the Pentagon's Strategic Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of monitor screens. "Time to Earth orbit?" he asked. "At current velocity, 36 hours, sir," replied Major Sandra Wilson, her voice steady despite the tension filling the room. "They're not even trying to hide their approach." "That's because they don't need to," Rivera muttered. "Get me the president." Across the globe, military forces mobilized quietly. Fighter jets scrambled, missile defense systems went to high alert, and nuclear submarines slipped away from their docks to positions in the deep ocean. Yet even as humanity's visible arsenal prepared for potential conflict, most citizens remained unaware of the approaching visitors. President Elena Takahashi addressed the United Nations Security Council from an underground bunker, her image projected to leaders worldwide. "We're initiating first contact protocols. All attempts at communication must be coordinated through the international response team. We cannot afford contradictory messages." The aliens saved them the trouble 24 hours later when they established orbit and broadcast simultaneously to every communication device on the planet. The message appeared on phones, computers, televisions, and even radio signals, a figure with sleek, metallic blue skin and 6 eyes arranged in a horizontal pattern across an elongated face. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in flawless English, its voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "I am Supreme Commander Vexnor of the Meridian Empire. Your world has been cataloged and claimed as territory under our protection and authority. Your resources, technology, and biological diversity will serve the greater commonwealth of our empire." The alien's expression remained neutral, almost benevolent. "This arrangement is beneficial. The Meridian Empire brings advancement to primitive species, purpose to potential. Your conflicts will end. Your progress will accelerate under our guidance." The message continued without pause. "You will disarm all military installations. You will provide access to your leaders and resources. You will accept Meridian governance. You have 72 Earth hours to begin compliance. Resistance will necessitate correction." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving billions of humans staring at blank screens. In the White House Situation Room, silence hung heavy until Defense Secretary James Ortiz spoke. "They're not asking. They're telling." "Standard imperial approach," said Dr. Amara Okafor, the leading xenoanthropologist. "They don't view us as equals worth negotiating with." President Takahashi's eyes narrowed. "Are they wrong? Their ships crossed distances we can barely comprehend. Our most advanced weapons might not even penetrate their hulls." "We don't know that, Madam President," General Rivera interjected. "Permission to activate Project Silent Shield." The President's gaze met his. "You're certain it's ready?" "As ready as it will ever be." She nodded once. "Do it. But remember, officially, Earth is considering the Meridian terms." Within hours, Meridian ships had positioned themselves strategically around the planet, hovering over major cities with clinical precision. New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, New Delhi, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, all found themselves beneath the shadows of alien vessels that maintained position just beyond the reach of conventional weapons. Military satellites that attempted close observation were disabled with precise energy pulses that left them drifting uselessly. The message was clear: resistance would be futile. What the Meridians didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. Beneath the lunar surface, in a facility unknown to all but a select few, Commander Sophia Reyes received the encrypted activation code. She studied the message briefly before turning to her executive officer. "It's happening, Nathan. Operation Silent Shield is now active." Commander Reyes walked through the massive underground hangar of Artemis Base, watching as crew members rushed to their stations. The lunar facility had been built in secret over 20 years, funded by a black budget that drew resources from every major nation on Earth. Here, out of sight of prying eyes, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial, humanity had constructed its insurance policy. "Status report," she ordered, approaching the command platform where her senior officers gathered around holographic displays. "All vessels at 96% readiness," Captain Nathan Chen replied. "Weapons systems fully operational. Stealth systems engage." Reyes nodded, studying the tactical display showing Earth and the positions of the Meridian ships. For 2 decades, the world's major powers had secretly pooled resources to build this fleet, hidden from their own citizens, and they hoped, from any watching eyes among the stars. The Phantom Protocol worked, observed Major Leyland Beakey, head of intelligence. "They have no idea we're here. Their scans are focused on Earth's surface military installations." The lunar base had been built in stages disguised as a series of scientific outposts and mining operations. The fleet itself consisted of 35 warships, from nimble fighters to the massive dreadnought Defiance that served as the fleet's flagship. Each incorporated technology developed from concepts theorized by Earth's most brilliant minds, brought to reality by international cooperation that remained humanity's best-kept secret. On the main screen, they watched the Meridian ships maintaining their positions above Earth. "They're so confident," Reyes said quietly. "They don't even have defensive formations." She turned to her communications officer. "Any word from General Rivera?" "Just received, Commander. Earth governments are officially preparing compliance statements to buy time. Unofficial channels confirm Operation Silent Shield is green-lighted for Phase 1. Reyes took a deep breath. "Send the activation code to all sleeper cells across Earth. In seemingly ordinary facilities, weather stations, research outposts, commercial satellite offices, men and women received the coded message and began activating hidden defense systems. Anti-orbital batteries disguised as communications arrays powered up. Electromagnetic pulse generators buried beneath major cities hummed to life." "What about Project Blackout?" Chen asked. "Ready," replied Dr. Jasmine Patel, Chief Science Officer. She pulled up schematics of a small device. "The quantum field disruptor should temporarily disable their communications and targeting systems, but we'll only get one shot before they adapt." In the crew quarters section of the base, Lieutenant Alex Jackson finished recording a message to his family on Earth. Like everyone serving on this secret mission, he had told his loved ones he was working on a classified deep space mining operation. Now facing actual combat, many crew members were leaving final messages, just in case. "Attention all personnel," Reyes's voice came through the base-wide communication system. "This is the moment we've trained for. In 18 hours, we launch Operation Silent Shield. The Meridians believe Earth stands alone and defenseless. They expect submission." She paused. "Instead, they'll get the full force of humanity's resolve." Throughout the base, crew members moved with renewed purpose. Pilots ran final checks on their fighters. Weapons specialists loaded advanced missile systems. Engineers monitored the experimental engines that would give them the element of surprise. On the bridge of the Defiance, Reyes studied Earth hanging in the blackness of space, partially shadowed by the alien vessels. "They came expecting an easy conquest," Chen said, standing beside her. "Yes," Reyes replied, her voice hardening. "But humanity has never been conquered easily." Below on Earth, as the Meridian ultimatum ticked toward its deadline, Billions of humans waited, unaware of the fleet preparing to fight for them. The aliens had calculated Earth's visible military strength perfectly. What they hadn't accounted for was humanity's capacity for secrecy, preparation, and fierce determination when backed into a corner. In the darkness of the lunar far side, engines began to glow as the fleet prepared to reveal itself, not in surrender, but in defiance. With 48 hours remaining on the Meridian ultimatum, Earth's public face showed submission while its hidden forces prepared for war. President Takahashi stood before a hastily assembled press conference, her words broadcasting globally. The Meridian Empire offers us protection and advancement. While this transition may be difficult, we must consider what is best for humanity's future. Her words were carefully chosen, appearing cooperative while containing none of the specific compliance terms the aliens demanded. In the audience, Ambassador Thomas Lee listened with a neutral expression. Only he and a select few knew that the president's hand, hidden from camera view, was forming the signal that Operation Silent Shield was proceeding as planned. As night fell across different time zones, civilians followed emergency directives that appeared to be preparation for the alien occupation. People moved in orderly lines to designated shelters, subway systems, and underground facilities. The Meridians observed this as fear and preparation for submission. In reality, these movements masked a global military mobilization. Behind the crowds of civilians, Special Forces teams moved into position near critical infrastructure, disguised as ordinary citizens. They carried advanced weapons in everyday bags and cases. The trap was set. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The hidden response. Supreme Commander Vexnor stood on the command deck of the Meridian flagship, the inevitable Dominion, watching Earth's rotation below. The blue-green planet was just one of hundreds the Empire had claimed in its expansion across the galaxy. Behind him, Sub-Commander Trozil approached with a data tablet. "The humans are moving their populations into shelters," Trozil reported. "They appear to be preparing for compliance." As expected, Vexnor replied, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. "Their visible defenses are primitive. They recognize the futility of resistance." "There is something unusual," Trozil added. "Their leaders' public statements contain acknowledgement without specific commitment to our terms." Vexnor made a dismissive gesture, a transparent delay tactic. "When the deadline expires, we will demonstrate our capabilities on one of their military installations. They will understand then." What the Meridian commander failed to notice was the pattern of seemingly random satellite movements in Earth's orbit. Among thousands of objects circling the planet, several were subtly shifting position, their trajectories calculated to appear like normal orbital adjustments. In a laboratory beneath London's financial district, Dr. Mai Zong worked feverishly with her international team. Their focus: the Meridian Communication Network. "I've isolated the pattern," she announced, pointing to oscillating wavelengths on her display. "They're using quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across their fleet, but there's a vulnerability in their encryption." Her colleague, Dr. Karim Hassan, looked up from his workstation. "How long to exploit it?" "We already have," Zhang replied, a hint of pride in her voice. "And we've discovered something critical. Every 6 hours, they perform a full system reset that creates a 3-second window where their defensive shields recalibrate." This information was immediately relayed through secure channels to the Lunar Command Center, where Commander Reyes updated her battle plan. 3 seconds isn't much," Captain Chen observed as they reviewed the tactical simulation. "It's enough," Reyes replied, "especially since they don't know we're coming." With 24 hours remaining on the ultimatum, Earth's response took shape. In orbit, 6 disguised weapons platforms completed their repositioning, now aligned perfectly with key Meridian vessels. On the surface, hidden anti-orbital batteries prepared for synchronous activation. General Rivera coordinated from a command bunker deep beneath the Colorado Mountains. "Civilian evacuation status?" he asked. 93% complete, sir," his aide reported. "All critical population centers are cleared from primary target zones." Rivera nodded. "And our friends upstairs?" "Commander Rice reports the fleet is ready, awaiting your signal." The general checked the countdown. 18 hours until the meridian deadline. Send the coded activation. Tell Lunar Command that Operation Silent Shield commences precisely at their next shield recalibration. As Earth turned through its final night before the deadline, billions of humans waited in shelters, many praying, most fearful of what alien rule would mean. They had no knowledge of the counterattack being prepared on their behalf. In the lunar base, final preparations reached their peak. Pilots conducted last system checks on their vessels. Weapons officers loaded specialized disruptor missiles designed to interfere with Meridian technology. Engineers monitored the experimental stealth systems that had kept the fleet hidden. Commander Rice addressed her crew from the bridge of the Defiance. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of humanity to determine its own fate. The Meridians expect submission. Instead, they'll learn what happens when you corner a species that has spent its entire history overcoming impossible odds." Cheers erupted throughout the ship, echoed across the fleet. These men and women had trained for years for a day they hoped would never come. Now that it had arrived, there was no hesitation, only resolve. "The next shield recalibration occurs in 3 hours," Captain Chen informed Rice. "All ships are reporting ready status." Rice nodded. "Begin launch sequence. Maintain stealth protocols until we reach attack position." One by one, the ships of humanity's secret fleet powered up their engines, rising silently from the lunar surface. Using minimal thrust to avoid detection, they moved into formation on the far side of the moon, hidden from both Earth and the Meridian ships. Aboard the inevitable Dominion, Supreme Commander Vexnor prepared his demonstration strike. "Target their military installation in the region they call Nevada," he ordered. "Minimal yield, maximum visibility." Preparing weapons, Subcommander Trazil confirmed, interfacing with ship systems, firing solution locked. What happened next would be recorded in human history as the moment everything changed. As the Meridian weapon systems powered up, their fleet-wide shield diagnostic cycle began. The 6-hour recalibration that Dr. Zhang had discovered. For 3 crucial seconds, the alien vessels would be vulnerable. In that exact moment, the dark side of the moon erupted with activity. The engines of 35 warships ignited simultaneously, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Using gravity-assisted acceleration, they launched toward Earth at tremendous speed, appearing on Meridian sensors only when they were already halfway to their target. Multiple objects approaching from lunar orbit, Trazil shouted. Vexnor spun toward the tactical display, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "Impossible. Their species has no lunar military presence." The Defiance led the charge, its massive form cutting through space with unexpected agility. Commander Rice stood on the bridge, watching the Meridian ships grow larger in the view screen. "All ships maintain formation," she ordered. "Weapons hot. Execute attack pattern Omega on my mark." The human fleet split into 3 battle groups, each targeting different sections of the Meridian formation. They struck during the exact moment the alien shields were recalibrating, the first volley of missiles streaking across the void. These weren't conventional weapons, but specialized disruptors designed to interfere with Meridian systems. On Earth, General Rivera watched from the command bunker as the hidden orbital platforms activated, firing upward at the vulnerable undersides of the alien vessels. Now, he ordered into his secure channel. Across the planet, disguised anti-orbital batteries revealed themselves, emerging from farm fields, desert sand, and ocean platforms. They fired in perfect synchronization, their energy beams slicing through the atmosphere toward the surprised invaders. Aboard the Meridian flagship, chaos erupted, shields failing, multiple impacts across the fleet. Trazil shouted as warning signals flashed across control panels, human vessels approaching from lunar orbit and from Earth's hidden facilities. Vexnor stared in disbelief at the tactical display showing the human counterattack. How could they hide such forces? Scan those vessels. The results only increased his alarm. The human ships incorporated technologies the Meridians recognized because they had encountered them among other spacefaring races. Earth had somehow developed comparable defensive and offensive capabilities while maintaining the appearance of a pre-space civilization. On the Defiance, Commander Reyes received the report she'd been waiting for. All targets engage. Meridian communication network is disrupted. They cannot call for reinforcements. Casualties? She asked. 4 of our fighters damaged but crews safe, reported Captain Chen. 3 Meridian destroyers disabled. No Earth casualties reported. Reyes nodded. Press the advantage. Target their command ship. The Defiance accelerated toward the largest Meridian vessel, its weapon systems locking onto specific vulnerabilities identified by Earth's intelligence network. Smaller human fighters executed complex attack patterns that confused the alien targeting systems. President Takahashi watched the battle from her secure bunker, surrounded by military advisors and government officials. The orbital feeds showed human vessels swarming around the much larger alien ships, striking with precision rather than brute force. They never expected this, she said quietly. They thought we would just bow down, General Rivera replied, his expression grim but satisfied. Humanity has never accepted chains, Madam President, not from tyrants on Earth, and certainly not from tyrants among the stars. In orbit, the battle transformed Earth's night sky. People emerged from shelters to witness streaks of light cutting across the darkness. Human and Meridian weapons exchanging fire in the void above. Parents lifted children onto shoulders, pointing at humanity's defenders as cheers erupted from crowds worldwide. Aboard the Defiance, Commander Reyes gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. Damage report, she shouted over the alert sirens. Port shields at 38%, responded Lieutenant Park at the tactical station. Weapon systems still operational. 3 Meridian cruisers targeting our position. Reyes studied the tactical display. The initial surprise had given humanity a critical advantage, but the Meridians were adapting quickly. Their remaining vessels had formed a defensive perimeter, concentrating their firepower. All ships execute Maneuver Delta 7, she ordered. Focus fire on their flagship. The human fleet responded instantly, breaking into smaller attack groups that approached the Meridians from multiple vectors. Fighter squadrons led by Captain Maya Rodriguez created deliberate openings in the alien formation. Squadron 3, follow me in. Rodriguez instructed her pilots as they dove toward the largest Meridian vessel. Target their weapon nodes precisely. Remember your training. The 12 fighters moved in perfect coordination, evading alien defenses with maneuvers that seemed impossible for their class of vessel. They released specialized EMP warheads directly into the Meridian flagship's weapon ports before pulling away in a starburst pattern. The effects were immediate. Cascading energy failures rippled across the inevitable Dominion's hull as its primary weapons went offline. Commander Vexnor watched in growing horror as his ship's systems failed one after another. Reroute power to defensive shields, he ordered. Prepare secondary weapons. Communications are down, Trazel reported. We cannot coordinate with the fleet. Human vessels are targeting our engines. For the first time in his long military career, Vexnor faced the possibility of defeat. The Meridian Empire had subjugated hundreds of worlds, always following the same methodical approach. Demonstrate overwhelming force, demand submission, integrate the conquered species. Never had they encountered such a devastating response. On Earth, the coordinated counterattack continued as hidden defensive systems revealed themselves. Electromagnetic pulse generators activated near Meridian landing parties, disabling their equipment. Special Forces teams engaged alien ground troops with weapons specifically designed to penetrate Meridian armor. In the skies above London, Captain Liu Wei led the Asiatic Fleet's third wing in a precision strike against 2 Meridian destroyers. Target locked, her weapons officer confirmed. Disruptor missiles ready. Fire, Liu ordered, watching as the specialized projectiles streaked toward the alien vessels. They detonated not on impact, but in proximity, creating localized fields that interfered with the Meridian power systems. The larger of the two alien ships listed to one side, its engines flickering as it struggled to maintain position. The second managed to fire a retaliatory blast that clipped Lu's wing, but failed to penetrate her shields. All units, press the attack, Lu commanded. They're vulnerable. Similar scenes played out worldwide as humanity's hidden defenses engaged the invaders. What had begun as a surprise counterattack was becoming a coordinated assault that pushed the Meridians into an increasingly defensive posture. Aboard the Defiance, Commander Reyes recognized the shifting momentum. They're falling back to defensive positions, Captain Chen observed. Their formation is breaking apart. This is our chance, Reyes said. All ships, prepare for Phase 3. Target the flagship's propulsion systems. The human fleet reorganized, concentrating fire on the inevitable Dominion. The massive Meridian vessel was now surrounded, its weapons offline and its communications disrupted. The smaller Meridian ships attempted to provide covering fire, but they were occupied with their own battles. Supreme Commander Vexnor knew the situation was dire. Prepare the jump drive, he ordered. We must retreat and return with reinforcements. Jump drive is offline, Trezl replied, his voice betraying unprecedented alarm. The humans have somehow targeted our specific systems with precision we've never encountered. Vexnor moved to the tactical station, pushing aside a junior officer to access the controls directly. Impossible, he muttered, reviewing the attack pattern. They couldn't have known our configurations. Unless, he froze, suddenly understanding. The humans had been watching and learning. Their apparent primitiveness had been a deception, a facade maintained while they studied and prepared. The Meridian Empire had encountered thousands of species, but never one that had so thoroughly understood the concept of strategic misdirection. As the inevitable Dominion systems continued to fail, Vexnor made the most difficult decision of his career. Open a communication channel to the human vessel approaching our position, he ordered. Commander, Trezl objected. The Empire does not. The Empire is not here. Vexnor interrupted. I am. And I will not sacrifice this crew to preserve protocol. On the bridge of the Defiance, Lieutenant Park looked up from her console. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Meridian flagship. Reyes exchanged a glance with Captain Chen. Put it through. The main screen flickered, revealing Supreme Commander Vexnor. The alien's posture was stiff, formal, but his 6 eyes betrayed what Reyes recognized as the universal expression of defeat. This is Supreme Commander Vexnor of the Meridian Empire, the alien stated. I request terms for cessation of hostilities, victory, and aftermath. A tense silence filled the bridge of the Defiance as Commander Reyes considered the Meridian leader's unexpected request. The tactical display showed the battle continuing across Earth's orbit, human vessels pressing their advantage against increasingly disorganized alien ships. This is Commander Sophia Reyes of the Earth Defense Fleet, she finally responded. Our terms are unconditional surrender of all Meridian forces. Your vessels will power down weapons, shields, and propulsion. Your troops will withdraw from Earth's surface immediately. Vexnor's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Reyes had learned indicated calculation. You must understand, Commander, that I do not have the authority to surrender the Meridian Empire's interests. I can offer a temporary cessation of hostilities while we establish diplomatic channels. That's not how this works, Reyes replied, her voice hardening. Your empire came to our world uninvited, demanded our submission, and threatened our species. You're not in a position to negotiate. Captain Chen approached her side, speaking in a low voice. Commander, intelligence reports the remaining Meridian vessels are attempting to regroup. They may be planning the coordinated counterattack. Reyes nodded slightly, then returned her attention to the screen. You have 5 Earth minutes to begin compliance with our terms, or we will resume our attack with full force. The choice is yours, Commander Vexnor. She signaled for the transmission to be cut, leaving the alien leader staring at a blank screen. Prepare all ships for a potential renewed engagement, she ordered. And contact Earth Command. I want President Takahashi informed of the current situation. In the command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Rivera received the update with cautious optimism. The Meridians are wavering, he told President Takahashi. Commander Reyes has their flagship cornered. What about the rest of their fleet? The president asked. 7 of their vessels have been disabled, 3 have sustained critical damage, and the remainder are regrouping in high orbit. Our forces are in position to intercept if they attempt to flee or mount another attack. President Takahashi studied the tactical display, weighing her options. What do we know about Meridian reinforcements? Dr. Zhang's team reports that the Meridians have been attempting to send distress signals, but our disruption of their communication network appears to be holding. If they have reinforcements, they can't call them. The president nodded. Then let's press our advantage. Authorize Commander Reyes to capture the Meridian flagship if possible. Having their commander and their technology would strengthen our position considerably. On the inevitable Dominion, Supreme Commander Vexnor faced the unthinkable prospect of defeat. The Meridian Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds across 3 galactic sectors, always following the same efficient protocol. Never had they encountered such unexpected resistance. The human deadline expires in 1 minute. Subcommander Trezol reported. Our remaining vessels await your command. Vexnor studied the tactical display. The human fleet had positioned itself strategically, cutting off potential escape vectors. Their ships moved with a coordination that belied their apparent youth as a spacefaring species. How did we miscalculate so severely? He asked, more to himself than to his subordinate. Intelligence indicated they were a pre-unification species with primitive space capabilities. Trezol replied. Their interplanetary presence was limited to unmanned probes and a small orbital station. A deliberate deception, Vexnor realized. While maintaining the appearance of division and technological immaturity, they united in secret and built this hidden fleet. His inner eyelids closed briefly, a Meridian gesture of resignation. Signal all vessels. Power down weapons and shields. We will accept the human terms. Trezol's expression registered shock. Commander, the Empire has never faced such a miscalculation. Vexnor interrupted. I will bear the responsibility, but I will not sacrifice more Meridian lives to preserve our protocol. Across Earth's orbit, Meridian ships began powering down their systems, their hull lights dimming as they assumed neutral postures. On the Defiance, the crew watched with a mixture of disbelief and elation. They're surrendering, Captain Chen confirmed, reading the sensor data. All Meridian vessels are powering down weapons and shields. A cheer erupted across the bridge, quickly spreading throughout the ship, and then across the fleet as the news was relayed. Commander Reyes allowed it for a moment before raising her hand for silence. This is just the beginning, she reminded them. Prepare boarding parties. I want control of that flagship secured within the hour. As Earth rotated beneath them, darkness giving way to dawn across different continents, humanity witnessed the unprecedented sight of alien vessels surrounded by their own ships, the invaders now captives. In cities worldwide, people emerged from shelters to see the battle's aftermath reflected in their skies. The Meridian ships, once ominous shadows over major population centers, now appeared diminished, surrounded by the previously hidden Earth defense fleet. 6 hours later, Commander Reyes stood in the cavernous command center of the inevitable Dominion, facing Supreme Commander Vexnor across a circular table. The alien leader had surrendered his ceremonial armor, wearing only the simple undergarment that denoted his rank. Your species has achieved something unprecedented, Vexnor acknowledged. In 3 centuries of expansion, the Meridian Empire has never encountered such effective resistance. Perhaps that speaks more to your empire's methods than to our uniqueness, Reyes replied. You assume submission because that's what you're accustomed to receiving. The alien's head tilted slightly. You misunderstand. The protocol is not arbitrary. Most developing worlds benefit from integration into our commonwealth. We bring technological advancement, resource management, unified governance. At the cost of freedom, Rice countered. Humanity has always valued self-determination above comfort or efficiency. So we have learned, Vexnor conceded, at considerable cost. A human officer approached, handing Rice a tablet. She reviewed the information before addressing the alien commander again. Our forces have secured all Meridian vessels in Earth orbit. Your ground troops have been contained. Now we need to discuss the Empire's response when they learn of this outcome. Vexnor's multiple eyes blinked in their sequential pattern. The Empire will send an investigative fleet when we fail to report on schedule. Standard protocol dictates an arrival within 30 of your days. Then we have work to do, Rice said firmly, because when they arrive, they will find not a conquered world, but a united species ready to defend itself, and now armed with Meridian technology. The alien commander's posture shifted subtly. You intend to reverse engineer our systems. We already have, Rice revealed. How do you think we knew exactly where to strike your vessels? How we timed our attack to coincide with your shield recalibration? Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or even our determination. It's our ability to adapt and learn. For the first time, Vexnor appeared genuinely unsettled. You had prior knowledge of our technology. How? Rice allowed herself a small smile. 50 years ago, a small Meridian scout ship crashed in Earth's Arctic region. There were no survivors, but the vessel remained largely intact. That single ship provided the foundation for everything you see now. The revelation clearly shocked the alien commander. A scout ship from the Procyon expedition. It was reported lost to a spatial anomaly. It was lost to Earth, Rice corrected. And it gave us the head start we needed to prepare for this day. In the days that followed, Earth's hidden capabilities were finally revealed to its population. The existence of the lunar base, the secret fleet, and the international cooperation that had made it all possible became public knowledge. After the initial shock, a wave of pride swept across the planet. Humanity had faced an existential threat and emerged not just surviving, but victorious. President Takahashi addressed the United Nations General Assembly, now expanded to include military leaders and representatives from the formerly secret space program. For too long, we have been divided by borders, ideologies, and resources, she declared. The Meridian threat forced us to recognize a fundamental truth, that what unites us as humans is far more significant than what divides us. Together, we accomplished what would have been impossible separately. The assembly erupted in applause. When it subsided, the president continued, her expression growing more serious. But our work has just begun. The Meridian Empire now knows of our existence and our capabilities. They will return, likely with greater forces. We must use this time to strengthen our defenses, advance our technology, and perhaps most importantly, maintain the unity that saved us. On the Defiance, now permanently stationed in Earth orbit as the flagship of humanity's newly public defense fleet, Commander Rice reviewed the progress reports with satisfaction. Meridian technology was being carefully studied and integrated into Earth's systems. The alien vessel's faster-than-light drive alone represented a leap forward that would have taken decades to achieve independently. The Meridian reinforcements will arrive in approximately 3 weeks, Captain Chen reported. Our early warning systems are operational, and the orbital defense grid is at 87% completion. Rice nodded, studying the tactical projections and the diplomatic initiative. Proceeding better than expected. Supreme Commander Vexnor has agreed to facilitate communication with the Meridian leadership. He seems to believe they may be open to a negotiated settlement rather than further conflict. Do you believe him? Rice asked. Chen considered the question. I think he's realized something his empire hasn't yet, that some species are more valuable as allies than as subjects. In a secure facility beneath Geneva, Dr. Zhang and her international team worked with several Meridian technical specialists who had chosen cooperation over continued hostility. Together, they developed a communication system that would allow Earth to broadcast its message to the approaching Meridian fleet. We need them to understand that while we refuse to be conquered, we're not opposed to peaceful exchange. Dr. Zhang explained to the alien engineers, "Your technology, our adaptability. Imagine what we could accomplish together instead of in conflict." One of the Meridians, a specialist named Krell, seemed particularly receptive. "The Empire has existed for 9,000 years, he noted. In that time, protocols have become rigid, alternatives overlooked. Perhaps this encounter will force necessary adaptation." Dr. Zhang smiled. "Adaptation is what humanity does best." 26 days after the failed invasion, the Meridian reinforcement fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 23 vessels, nearly twice the size of the original force. They approached cautiously, having received no communication from their advance fleet. What they found was not a conquered Earth, but a planet surrounded by a defensive grid incorporating their own technology. The disabled Meridian ships orbited alongside new human vessels. Most surprising was the face that greeted them in their first communication. Supreme Commander Vexnor, standing alongside Commander Reyes. "This is Supreme Commander Vexnor addressing the Meridian Relief Fleet," the alien stated formally. "I am transmitting authentication codes now. The situation on Earth has evolved beyond standard protocols. I strongly advise against hostile action." There was a long pause before the Relief Fleet commander responded, clearly confused by finding his superior apparently working with the very species they had come to subjugate. "Explain your situation, Supreme Commander," the new arrival demanded. "I have discovered that our intelligence regarding Earth was fundamentally flawed," Vexnor replied. "This is not a pre-unification species suitable for standard integration. They possess technological capabilities, military strength, and adaptive intelligence that make them candidates for diplomatic alliance rather than subjugation." Commander Reyes stepped forward. "This is Commander Sophia Reyes of Earth. Your advance fleet attempted to conquer our world and was defeated. We could have destroyed them entirely, but chose instead to offer terms. We extend the same choice to you now: peaceful dialogue or unnecessary conflict." In orbit above Earth, both fleets maintained position, weapons primed but not firing. It was a precarious moment that would determine the course of human history, and perhaps that of the Meridian Empire as well. After tense negotiations, the Meridian Relief Fleet agreed to a temporary diplomatic solution. They would return to their territory with Supreme Commander Vexnor and a delegation of human representatives to present the situation to the Empire's ruling council. As the alien ships prepared for departure, Vexnor had one final conversation with Commander Reyes on the bridge of the Defiance. "Your world may have changed the course of our empire," the alien acknowledged. "For millennia, we have expanded through the same methodical process. Perhaps we needed this reminder that the universe contains unexpected possibilities." "That's something humanity learned long ago," Reyes replied. "The moment you think you understand everything is precisely when you're most vulnerable to surprise." Vexnor's inner eyelids closed briefly in what Reyes had come to recognize as thoughtful acknowledgement. "The diplomatic delegation you're sending will face challenges. The Empire does not change direction easily." "We're sending our best," Reyes assured him. "People who understand that true strength comes not from domination, but from adaptation." As Earth rotated beneath them, cities glittering in the darkness, both commanders contemplated the future. The Meridian Empire had discovered that not all species would bow to superior technology or military force. Humanity had discovered its capacity for unity in the face of existential threat. Neither would ever be the same again. President Takahashi's words to the United Nations echoed in Reyes's mind as she watched the Meridian ships depart. "Today marks not just our emergence as defenders of Earth, but our first step into a larger community among the stars. We do not know what awaits us, but we carry forward the qualities that have defined humanity throughout our history: curiosity, determination, and the unshakable belief that we control our own destiny." The stars no longer represented just mystery and possibility, but connection and challenge. Humanity had answered an ultimatum not with submission, but with defiance, and in doing so, had earned something more valuable than victory. They had earned respect.